Hi, this is Wendy from HMO Success. Today I want to talk to you about a subject that I don't normally cover. Normally I'm speaking about property, investing, systemising your business. But today I want to talk about anxiety and fear. Now, over the last few days, with the imminent lockdown coming on Thursday, and people feeling a little bit worried about their businesses, about their livelihoods, about their lifestyles, I've been hearing more and more people really anxious and feeling quite worried and stressed about what the future might bring. So I thought today it might be useful for me to do a video to help you if you're feeling like that, to give you some practical tips that you can start to implement, and to help you if you're feeling just that fear of the future, that fear that something bad is going to happen and that you can't quite control it. Well, let's take a little bit of a step back and understand what is fear. Well, fear is a natural human reaction to any threat that we might have. And in fact, if you look at my lovely diagram here on the whiteboard, you'll see prehistoric man. What do you mean you can't tell he's prehistoric? Can't you tell by his hairstyle? Prehistoric man fighting off a saber-toothed tiger, because hundreds of thousands of years ago this would have been the threat to prehistoric man. He was fearful that that saber-toothed tiger was going to come and eat up his family, eat up his children, and eat up the woolly mammoth that he'd killed the night before for tonight's dinner. Thankfully, we don't live in those times anymore. But we can still perceive threats just like prehistoric man did with the saber-toothed tiger. And it might be that you have seen that there are some threats in the current economic climate. Maybe some threats to your business, threats to your health or your family's health, threats to your livelihood. And all of these things will create fear and anxiety. Now, our bodies are amazingly made. They're made to be tools that enable us to have a great life, that enable us to do what we intend to do. But one of the tools is, of course, our hormones. And this is a diagram of the brain. And within the brain, there's a little central area here, pointed out by the purple dot, called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala sits deep within our brainstem. And what the amygdala does is it coordinates a lot of the hormones that we might feel, particularly when we're feeling fearful. And the two main hormones that are responsible for that are cortisol and adrenaline. So that rush when you feel fear at a threat of something that makes your palms sweaty or makes you go cold inside, that's because suddenly the amygdala has released these hormones and is suddenly making you feel really on edge. Now, you'll know if you've ever been to, say, a theme park or a rock concert or been somewhere, amazingly fun for the day, you can feel adrenaline even if you're not scared or fearful. Adrenaline makes our hearts pump faster, it gives us focus, and it helps us keep us on the go. But the problem is when that's combined with cortisol, it can be a bit of a heady mix. And the issue is that with too much cortisol and adrenaline flowing through our system, it can really cause us to be a little bit kind of woozy on those effects. And some of the effects of fear that you might have felt yourself, they might start out as dissatisfaction, unhappiness, disappointment. These are just perhaps the kind of tip of the iceberg feelings. But then you might start to feel a bit paralysed. You can't make any decisions about the way forward. Your body maybe starts to suffer some illness. And then finally, you might feel that you are really suffering so badly you have to go and get professional help. And I would recommend, by the way, that if you're at that stage now, you must go and get professional help if you're already so anxious that you can't cope with this. But today, I just want to give you some help if you are feeling on the verge of anxiety or fear because of coronavirus, because of what's happening in the wider economic marketplace, and what might be happening to your business. Now, a few years ago, when my two eldest boys were quite young, they were both diagnosed with cystic fibrosis. And to start with, I was very strong and I was very determined and I thought we're going to get through this. But as the weeks rolled on and we had more and more hospital appointments and we had more tests and we had more procedures, I began to feel that growing sense of fear about the future. I worried so much about their health. I worried about how I was going to cope. I worried about the impact on their life long term. And it was a really difficult time. And I remember feeling this overwhelming, mushrooming sense of not having any power, not having any strength to cope with it, and feeling overwhelmed by the fear of what might happen. Now the reality is, once I actually got started doing their treatments, their physio, their antibiotics, and we got into a nice routine, actually a lot of that evaporated. And now they're two grown-up young men living life on their terms. They're both very healthy and fit and well. They keep charge of their own health, they're responsible, and they're doing really well. So all that fear I had never came to anything. It was just me putting layer upon layer of pressure on myself. And sometimes this is what fear can do if you're running a business, is you can start to feel really worried about what the future may bring and start to make some illogical decisions. Or you might even feel totally frozen and unable to make any decisions. So if that's you, let me share with you some of my top tips to helping you get out of that mindset and maybe helping you to move into a bit more of a peaceful and a more settled frame of mind. So the first thing is, just as we don't necessarily want too much cortisol or adrenaline in our bodies, what we want to try and encourage is some of the more relaxed hormones, some of those hormones that really help us to feel good, one of which is serotonin. And the other one is a group of hormones called endorphins. And these are hormones which make us feel really chilled and relaxed and calm. And often, you know, Friday night is a time when, probably sitting in front of Netflix with maybe a nice glass of red, you're feeling the effects of serotonin. But what else can you do to help flood your brain with good, positive hormones that help you physically and help you emotionally as well? Here are some ideas. So number one, exercise. We all know, don't we, that if we do exercise, it helps our endorphins. It produces that feel-good factor. The other thing you might not know, though, is that early in the morning, the body is secreting a lot of cortisol. And if you get up early and do some really hard exercise, you know, jumping around or running up and down or going for a bike ride, this is brilliant at getting rid of any kind of excess cortisol in your system. And particularly if you're struggling to sleep, this is probably because the effects of cortisol haven't yet been worn out from the previous day and they're waking you up. So having a period every day, particularly early in the morning when you can get out there and exercise hard, it's a really powerful way of reducing that stress hormone in your body. Number two, diet. So I'm no diet guru, but I certainly know that too much alcohol, sugar, processed food is not good for my body. So I try and make sure I eat as clean as possible. I have a few little treats here and there, but I make sure that I have plenty of green vegetables every day, lots of fruit and vegetables, and lots of good quality carbohydrates and protein. These are all sensible precautions to take to keep my body and my mind working well. So just have a look at your diet. Does it need to be measured or maintained in a slightly different way? Do you need to have a look at what you're eating and when you're eating, and create yourself a little bit more of a healthy diet? This can really help if you're struggling with anxiety or stress. Number three, a rhythm. Now, a rhythm for your day is so vital because not only does it help you to be productive, it helps you also to sleep well. And you know as well as I do, if you don't get a good night's sleep, how bad the effects can be. Not having enough sleep is incredibly damaging to our mental well-being and also to our physical health. Apparently, the first 3 or 4 hours of sleep repair our physical bodies, and the second 4 hours of sleep repair our emotional minds. So if you're not getting good sleep in the second half of the night, it's because your brain is on overdrive. So cortisol is a main reason for that, so that's why it's worth addressing that by getting up early in the morning and doing some really hard exercise, but also creating a good going to bed rhythm. Now this is going to mean putting your phone away, turning off the laptop, watching a bit of telly or reading a book or listening to some music, just creating a really key discipline in having a good bedtime routine. Personally, I found that works wonders if by about 9 o'clock all my electronic devices are shut off and I just have kind of about an hour to chill, and then I'm ready for bed, and when I go to sleep my head hits the pillow and I'm absolutely, off as soon as the light turns off. So if sleep is being disrupted for you, think about your rhythm, think about cortisol levels as well and managing those. And I think those two things alone can really make a very big difference to quality of sleep. When we were children, we explored, we played, just for the sake of doing it. And as adults, we quite often have lost that desire, haven't we? We've lost that habit of playing. But I believe that play is really important for us as adults because it gives us freedom. It lets our brains switch off for a little while from the everyday stresses and strains of life, and it allows us to explore and to create. So find something that you enjoy doing just for the sake of doing it. We're not looking for, a great Picasso painting. We're not looking for a great Nigella Lawson chocolate cake. Even if, baking isn't your thing or painting isn't your thing, find something that you enjoy doing and just explore it and play with it. Even half an hour a day can make such a difference because that part of your brain which is focused on the fear and the anxiety switches off. And the other part of your brain, which is about creativity and finding, joy in being, switches on. And then finally, what I'd say to you is now is a great time to be prepared for what might be coming down the track. Now, it's unlikely it's going to be a saber-toothed tiger, unless you're living in a very remote part of the UK. It's more likely that you're going to see some changes. Changes maybe to your business, to your income, changes maybe to the way that you live. But you can cope with this because right now your job is to get strong. It's to get strong lifting the spear that you would be using to attack the saber-toothed tiger with. It's about becoming strong in your mentality so that every day by practicing these habits you can stay present and you can stay alert and you can listen to yourself as well. And it's also about recognizing that actually what's going on around us in terms of the economic climate, perhaps your business or what's happening with tenants or finding deals, all the struggles that you might be having right now, not only are many other people being affected by those, but remember that they're not going to last forever. We often make the threat of something much bigger in our heads than it needs to be. And I believe that by following some really simple steps like these today, you can manage that. It's no longer going to be a threat, but it's going to be an opportunity for you because you can come out of this stronger and better than ever before. Please subscribe, like the video if you've enjoyed this video, and share it with your friends. It's not a topic I normally cover, but certainly on HMO Success we are committed to helping people not just with the skills they need, but also with the mindset, because having both makes you a true winner. I look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thanks for watching.